The audience in Bowie's life had been so important to the whole Bowie story, and doing something like this Weekender allows people to participate far more.
Time may change me, but I can't trace time straight.
Bowie is incredibly interested in every aspect of his work. So this weekend was never just going to be about music, it was always going to be about all of those art forms.
The idea was to look at some of the people who influenced him in the 1960s and 70s and also look at his ongoing influence today.
Changes, oh look out, you rock and rollers.
In the context of today, David Bowie is, for me, a gateway to talk about a lot of areas that I'm really interested in.
Miles knew him when he was still in the process of figuring out how to become David Bowie, and we've been having a great time comparing notes.
We wanted the events this weekend to really reflect the huge range of things that Bowie's been inspired by.
Paul Morley is writing a book in the main entrance, and he's writing it as a spectator sport.
Well, I'm writing about David Bowie, but I'm also writing about the idea of writing about David Bowie. I kind of liked it as a technical task. See if it was possible to write anything coherent at all.
Everybody's been writing on colour, like coded post-it notes, and they can just write down a little message. And then they're making the face of the Aladdin Sane cover, you know, the album cover.
The aim was to create a Bowie world. One critic said that the exhibition was a bit like being inside Bowie's head, and I think hopefully this weekend has brought that spirit out into the whole museum.
I've bought my sort of Bowie magazines that have been out this past month so people can stop and have a read through, have a chat. I've got pen and paper, so I will be taking requests if people want requests.
To try and provide for everybody an inspiration for the area of art and design that interests them, and I think that's what Bowie tries to do as well.
He's the only one working within the pop music tradition, the rock and roll tradition, who has so many sides to him.
Staging, stage designs, lighting, I mean it just goes on and on and on.
It's all about celebrating David Bowie in all of his guises, all of his influences and his inspirations and the people that he inspired and influenced.
It's the response that he gets from people that makes him such an invigorating and special kind of performer.
The book, in the end, is a kind of mystery about someone sat in the grand entrance of the Victoria and Albert Museum writing a book about David Bowie, and stuff happens.
Bowie is the champion and the exemplar of the transformative power of the imagination.
The scope of it is overwhelming to the point where one really thinks, did one person do all of that?
Those of us that loved him at the time were right. You know, 40 years later, he is still around. And it's because it's not ultimately about just the pop song or about pop music. It's about ideas, it's about the power of the imagination. It's about a sort of grand astonishment at being alive.